folks, welcome. My name is Hannah Bendixson. I am the project specialist for LibraryNow here at the Milwaukee Public Library and Education Outreach Services. You have joined us for our monthly LibraryNow drop-in, where we feature a cool tool or collection of features brought to you by LibraryNow resources. So the theme of our session today is Help Your Booklist Bloom with LibraryNow. So whether you are helping a student get to that next exciting book that's going to be a good fit for them and engaging at the reading level, or whether you are building out your classroom library or extending a reading list, diversifying a reading list for your class, we are here to help. So we'll talk about LibraryNow resources that can help you do just that. And as is customary, we will reserve time at the end for Q&A and troubleshooting. If this is your first time to the world of LibraryNow, welcome. To share just a bit of our history and how it is that we do what we do. LibraryNow was created in response to the Connect Ed challenge in 2016, and we've been around ever since. There is a twofer to LibraryNow, as what we call a digital equity initiative. One part of that is putting together a curated best hits list of digital resources that are free to students and educators, available in one central place and an easy to use website. So LibraryNow, once again, best hits digital resources available to both students and educators that have both academic and recreation values to you. You know your community best, so we hope that you will spend more time poking around at LibraryNow, but that is where the resources we're featuring today are coming from. The second part of LibraryNow as a digital equity initiative is access, how students and educators are accessing this information. So a physical library card is not oftentimes in the hands of a student or family, and this can provide a barrier, especially when it comes to integrating MPL's free digital resources in the classroom for educators and students having the capacity to utilize those resources. So when partnering with our LibraryNow partner schools, we worked with our school and network partners to come up with conventions for a digital library card that students can utilize to access digital resources for free. So they are utilizing their student ID or some rendition of it as the replacement of a barcode, and then they are using their 4-digit birth year as their PIN. If you're joining us from a different network, that may differ slightly, but if you are an MPS educator, for instance, you will utilize the 6 or 7-digit student ID as an MPS student and your 4-digit birth year as PIN. If you are an educator at one of our LibraryNow partner schools, you can opt into this access by submitting a digital educator card through our website, which stick around for the Q&A if you have questions about how to do that. And without further ado, we're going to get to our topic of the day, which is book lists. There are so many books to read and consider and authors to highlight. It's hard to keep all of that in your head. So we're here to provide you some inspiration and give you some starting points to jump off and do some exploration on your own. So we'll be mostly talking about NoveList and TeachingBooks today. Both have really cool advanced search features that allow you, in the case of NoveList, to search by nationality, gender identity, cultural identity of the author. It's also really important to consider Lexile score, accelerated reader, ATOS book level, as you're helping the student gauge fit or thinking about, your grade level classroom more particularly. TeachingBooks similarly has a lot of custom reading lists that they recommend, but you can also create your own. They have diverse book lists, which are amazing, and you can share those to Google Classroom and in lots of ways, via email, via link, via social media. They have some awesome classifications that they are really transparent about that we love to lead with, to help you make sense of what is a diverse book list and how do you truly serve the needs of your school community. So they have something called the collection analysis report and needs assessment, so you can get a sense of how do I make sure my classroom library or school library is representative of the students I serve. The Milwaukee Public Library also has amazing librarians who curate thematic and constantly updated book lists for educators and for the public. So we'll show you how to find those. And last but not least, we won't spend time today screen sharing and showing both Hoopla and Overdrive, but I wanted to nod to them anyways, because NoveList, TeachingBooks, and the book lists that our MPL librarians are assembling do not, those web pages do not in the same breath also have the books and the resources ready to download or access. They're much more resources of resources that get the books in front of you. But you can then immediately go to one of our 2 digital collections, Hoopla and Overdrive, which you and your students will have access to utilizing your LibraryNow login conventions to check and see if you can check out some of those books as an ebook, an audiobook, or if you're also interested in read-alongs or comics, magazines, that kind of thing too. Those are also available. Quick teaser, and then we're going to do some showing and telling on LibraryNow itself. For TeachingBooks, we're going to be looking specifically at TeachingBooks for schools, and we're going to be going to the For Educators tab. There are lots of resources that are student-facing as well. We'll look at custom reading lists, and diverse books, and then NoveList. We get in those nice Bloom features through Canva. NoveList will also be looking at examples of how you can create a Women's History Month collection. So we're going to navigate over to librarynow.org. Automaticity is really key to us, so we'll type it in each time. It is www.librarynow.org. We hope that'll be memorable for you and your students, just as we hope that those digital conventions, S number and student ID, or S number or student ID and PIN will be as well. This is the homepage. We've curated resources by kids, teens, educators. We'll start at educators, though a number of these resources are represented across all 3. And we're going to dive in with TeachingBooks. As I said, we're going to spend all of our time today for educators. And we'll start with showing you custom reading lists and what that looks like. How you can create those, because then when I show you an example of a diverse book list or how you can use search features in TeachingBooks, you can see how easy it is to add books to the list that you create. So I created a LibraryNow list, also a women's literature list. So you can click in here and see what exists. There are 150 resources that correspond to these books, which is super awesome if you're building out your curriculum. But I wanted to show you in particular, once you've done the work of creating a list, or you have uploaded one of the TeachingBooks lists, it is so easy to share a list. TeachingBooks is really nimbly designed to consider what systems educators are already utilizing. So you can see you can upload it to Google Classroom, you can embed it, cite it, you can upload it to social media, calendar, you can email it to yourself or students. You can print a label sheet, which is so awesome if you want to plop this on any kind of material. If you want to put together reading lists that correspond to, start with an author as the seed and then are similar titles to that author, and then you want to print the list, you can do so and put it on the book so that students can see that inspiration in QR code form linked to the book that they are drawn to first. So once you find a student is excited about one title, of course, how do we hook them and get them excited about others? If you're creating a new list, this is how you do so. You can name it, you can upload a teaching book list, you can search for a title or search for an ISBN. If you already have the list, but you're looking to link to TeachingBooks resources and share TeachingBooks resources in conjunction with the title. If you haven't heard of TeachingBooks before, those are author interviews, book trailers, read-alongs, press, interviews surrounding the title, lesson plan activities sometimes are included with TeachingBooks as well. So by putting together a reading list through TeachingBooks, you're not only assembling the titles themselves, but linking to a plethora of resources that help to bring the book to life. All right. And you can also, if most folks I think that are using TeachingBooks want to share it, but you can also make it private or discoverable by TeachingBooks itself. And that's another way to kind of adapt and use accordingly. And there's a video tutorial here for creating a reading list if this is not enough. TeachingBooks is really good about that. So that's where you can find custom reading list stuff, but I want to spend a little bit of time looking at this diverse books toolkit. So this is where you can find a lot of pre-made reading lists. You can find any number of cultural experiences, identities. You could look, for instance, at the immigrant refugee collection and find resources that are assigned to it. And you could share the book. This is how easy it is to add to your reading list. So I would say, I love this. I'm going to put it on my Library Now list, add to list, boom. So as you're searching through teaching books, they make it so easy for you to be really excited about a title and to then add it to whatever reading list you created. You can see on the left-hand side here how many different ways of filtering there are. So cultural representation reflections, story map lessons, readers theater. There's some book trailers, book websites, book readings, read along performances, especially if you're working with younger kids. These all have that read along feature to them. So curating the book and the resource. What I love too is if you scroll at any time on the left-hand side down, when you are in this search feature of teaching books, you can find something called definitions. And I really love this because it's about removing barriers. If you're curious, how does teaching books categorize grading level? What does it mean to say cultural experiences? How is teaching books as a resource making those decisions? So maybe students aren't familiar with these terms, or you're looking to build out a vocabulary about how do we even have a conversation about creating diverse book lists or understanding the importance of representing various subsects of our community, and how do you refer to those identities. Curricular areas, genres, formats, subject headings, all this and more is really in a plug and play format for you to understand. So I go back to other really cool features of teaching books. Again, this is the Diverse Books toolkit. You can search by subject, you can search by other identities, of course, by genre, grade level, and more. That's important too, by the resources themselves, by activities, if you're looking for lesson planning help. And I wanted to take a moment to look at this collection analysis report on diversity and inclusion. If you request on the far right here, generate a report and complete a needs assessment, this is a really cool way of taking initiative in your school library or your classroom library to say, I want more diverse books in my collection and I don't really know where to start. So you submit this form to TeachingBooks. They have a statement here on how do they define diversity, again, leading with definitions. And then you have this section about your community needs. So what genres, what age groups, what reading level, what types of cultural experiences do you want to have represented? What percentage of your book collection are you hoping will be diverse, and diverse in what way? What genres are kind of underrepresented? So this is really an amazing way for you to collaborate with TeachingBooks in a sense, to get some feedback about how you could undergo just the act of starting. All right, I'm going to go back to Library Now. And we're going to look at NoveList, which is similar, but has some of its own features. So we'll see which one you ultimately are inspired by the most. We have NoveList for K through 12. We also have NoveList K through 8. Regardless of which you choose from the Library Now homepage of resources, they both will allow you, as you can see up here, to filter by age. These are kind of their standing, and some of them are visiting collections that you can click into by genre. But the advanced search on NoveList, I think, gives you the greatest sense of what it can do in helping you to filter. So you can filter by an author's nationality and author's gender identity. So we can do female for Women's History Month. You can filter by their cultural identity. So say you want female African-American authors. Of course, this goes right in hand with grade level, Lexile level, accelerated reader level is available right here too. Dewey range. So whatever you are using to search to make sure you're getting a book that's exciting, representative of the young person in front of you or your classroom, but also is at their grade level, then you find books here. They even links to Goodreads, which is pretty cool. And I love this read alike and author read alike feature. So if a student really loved this book, they can use either of these as a rabbit hole to find additional titles, as can you in your personal life and as you accompany young people. All right, and last but not least, I'm going to navigate back to our presentation to show you what I'm about to do. If you want a one-page graphic, and then we'll actually go there on Library Now. I'm going to spend some time flexing for our amazing librarians who put together the Milwaukee Public Library equivalent of what I just showed you on TeachingBooks and NoveList. So you're going to go to the Educator tab, as you can see in the bottom left corner. You're going to click it. They're going to go to More About Library Now, And then you're going to scroll to the bottom of the page and go to additional resources, book lists for educators. So to show you what that looks like on MPL, find educators, boom. Next up is find more about LibraryNow. So quick shout out to if you have not created a digital educator card or need to renew yours, that can be found right here. So click on more about LibraryNow. You scroll to the bottom of this page that has lots of exciting goodies that you can explore on your own time. Click book lists for educators, and here you are. So coming to you straight from the creativity of our librarians. So there is just so much here. Again, that's updated regularly. Once you click on that book list, you can find the titles down here. And if you see this kind of flip in action, what's really cool is that if you float over a title, you can see, for instance, if it's available on CountyCat, which is our catalog for ordering materials, or if it's also available as an ebook or audiobook. So if you see ebook or audiobook on one of these titles, you're excited about it, your student is excited about it, that is that opportunity for them to go to Overdrive, our online catalog, and to check out an ebook or audiobook or read along for that title. They can also check Hoopla to see if it's available that way as well. But truly just a great variety of lists that you are able to find by holiday, by age, by identity as well. So, and we hope that you're really excited about the slew of resources that we have to offer you, whether through TeachingBooks, NoveList, or through our own homegrown lovely MPL librarians. And this is the point in the presentation where we say we're iceberg, tip of the iceberg people. There's much, much more available on librarynow.org, and you know your community the best. So we hope that you will continue to explore resources on LibraryNow, whether that is our language learning apps, our primary and secondary source research guides, as you introduce information literacy to your young people and help them along their journey as scholars and researchers, whether it's free tutoring, one of our digital collections, and more. We hope that you'll come back. And thank you so much for being with us. Without further ado, we'll stop the recording and see you next time.